Look, let's be honest with each other. I know trading's been tough recently. I know it feels like you're forcing positions and struggling to get clean entries in the market, and I know it feels like you're fighting an uphill battle. Every single step you take forward, you feel like it's 2 steps back, and trust me, I've been exactly where you are right now. And in fact, the past 2 weeks have been extremely difficult to trade as well, even for me. I've only had 2 positions in the past 2 weeks, and fortunately, one of them was a break even, one of them was a win, so I'm still up. But the point I'm trying to make is, trading can be extremely hard at times, and it's actually knowing how to navigate yourself through these hard times that is what's going to allow you to become profitable, because anyone can make money during the good times. Anyone can print cash during a super bull market where everything's playing out and everything's going in your way, but actually 99% of traders are going to give that money back during the hard times, and I know you know how I feel. I know you've given money back to the market that you shouldn't have. So what I want to do here is I want to have a little conversation with you and just take you through some of the losses that I've had, because at the end of the day, in my 5 years that I've been trading, I could tell you about none of the wins. In fact, I remember barely any of the wins. But there's a couple of losses that stick with you, and I know you have the same ones that you're thinking about right now. There's going to be those 2, 3, 4 losses that stick in your head. You think about them sometimes before you go to sleep or when you're about to enter a trade, and they're just playing on your mind. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to deal with them, because the difference between someone who's struggling to trade and someone who's profitable is such a thin line. And actually, I genuinely think the main difference is someone who can actually go ahead and manage those losses. As I was saying, the difference between someone who's extremely profitable and someone who's not profitable can simply be how they're handling these losses. And I'm not talking about what immediate reactions you make on the chart, because anyone can make a strategy video about that, but me and you are having a one-to-one right now, because I know you struggle to deal with the losses. I know how hard it is to move on. I know the negative P&L affects you so much. And I think the best way for me to actually talk you through these situations is actually to talk you through some of my biggest losses, the losses that stick in my head, the losses that I think about when I think about actually taking a position or before I go to sleep. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. I'm purely going to go ahead and I'm going to talk to you about some of my biggest losses, how I dealt with them, how I get over them, and actually, someone just pulled up, but actually what the hell actually gets me through all of these tough situations, because at the end of the day, I've had big losses, same as you. Everyone's gonna have those losses, and it's just a part of the game. It's a part of the game that we're playing, and I've luckily learned to navigate these. And once you learn to do that, it gets super, super easy. So I'm actually gonna talk about the first one right now, which was relatively recently. The first loss that I've had, the big loss that I've had recently, was actually on my Apex accounts. Now, I took a $10,000 loss across all my accounts, and this was actually across 2 trades. This was 3 months ago, and what happened was, the first trade was just a stupid mistake. I purely left an order open when I hadn't realized about it. And what I actually did was forget about that, move away, and I came back 5K down. And that was a killer feeling, because again, it wasn't me, it wasn't my trading ability, it was just a stupid error. And I know you've had this exact same situation play out. Every single trader would have done something stupidly. Maybe they set the wrong stops by accident, maybe they entered with the wrong lot size. But actually, that is part of the game, and it's something that you're actually gonna have to deal with. So how did I deal with that? Well, I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. What I actually did was I tried to take another trade to make it back, because it was on a funded account that I technically didn't care about. And I ended up 10K down that day. And that hurt, because I broke my plan, okay? And everyone breaks their plan, and that's okay, but it's actually about how you get over that and how you actually continue down the road after you've done that. So what did I do? Well, first of all, the main thing I did was ensure that it would never happen again. So I was trading on a platform where orders could be left open. I moved over to one where they couldn't. And I made sure to add to my checklist before I finished trading to check orders. And that's the physical thing that I did. But the mental thing that I did was actually just take a step away and realize that I was too sucked into the P&L. And I want you to think about the same thing as well, because if you are so engulfed by your P&L to the point where a negative trade, despite the fact whether it was your fault or someone else's fault, or the broker's fault, or whatever it may be, if that's gonna hurt you so much that you have to revenge trade, you need to realize actually what you are risking and the fact that you're maybe over leveraged in the game. And I think genuinely the reason why I did it was because I was so close to a payout. So I was trading on 10 Apex accounts. Minimum payout would have been 5K. The max payout I was looking for was 20K. And it hurt me because I was a couple of $100s off of it. And I know you've had the exact same feeling where you get so close to either passing a challenge or so close to getting a payout, and then it falls away, and it's heartbreaking, genuinely heartbreaking. And you need to understand the reason why we're doing this, because at the end of the day, you're actually hardwired to fail. You are neurologically wired to actually fail as a trader, because if you're experiencing something like I just said, where you're getting so close to the P&L, so close to the payout, whatever it may be, and then you fail, that is serious pain, because you've been taught your entire life that actually money is so hard to achieve and money doesn't grow on trees and all of this sort of thing. And in reality, that's just not the truth, because something like trading and something like, the financial markets proves that money is pretty much infinite. The governments are printing money at an endless scale every single day. And so you thinking that you got so close to a payout and being so attached to that payout, or being so attached to passing an account or making X amount of money, is so counterintuitive, because once you know it's possible, you can do it every single day if you wanted. And you're using a mindset that comes from people who are trained to be in a 9-to-5, and you're directly translating that into trading. And I realized I was doing the same thing. Despite the fact that I make so much money trading, and despite the fact that I'm in such a comfortable position right now, I was still approaching that as, shit, I just lost 20K, even though I hadn't lost anything. In fact, I hadn't lost anything more than what I paid for the funded accounts. But I was so wired into the fact that I could have had this amount of money, when in reality, I should have realized that I got so close again. I've done this before a million times. It's pure chance, it's pure probability, and the probability is now stacked in my favor because I have an edge on the markets. So you should take a step away and just think, you know what, I'm not going to go ahead and over leverage or over risk on this position, because there's no need to. And circling back to a general perspective here, I've taught you one lesson right there, lesson number 1, which is detaching yourself from the P&L. But lesson number 2 is, you need to learn how to utilize losses in your favor, because losses are actually an extremely good thing for your trading. I don't know if you understand this, but you should be chasing losses every single day. Instead of chasing the wins like everybody does, you should be chasing those losses, because those losses are an understanding and an ability to actually fix something in your trading. Until you take a loss for a new reason, you don't know what you're doing wrong in the markets. And this is what I say to all of my students as well. You get one loss. You get one loss in the market. And that's one loss for every single mistake. So you get one loss that you over leverage on. You get one loss from a FOMO trade. If you're losing more than that, you need to reevaluate what you're doing after a loss, because your post-loss process should change everything for you. I want you to think of it as actually, there's nothing to do with the P&L here. Detach yourself from your brokerage, from your prop firm, and think about you specifically. You're the trader, not Alpha Capital Group or FTMO or any broker is out there. You are the trader. So the payout target that you're trying to reach does not define you. What actually defines you is the fact that you turn up every day to the markets and you become a slightly better trader. So if you can turn up to the markets on Tuesday, take a loss, and on Wednesday you're better, guess what? That is going to pay you way, way, way more than any funded account would ever pay you. Because now you're improving yourself and you're improving your skill, and once you hone in that skill, you truly are developing a skill that is going to last you an entire lifetime. And what this means is, then you can redefine your goals. So number 3 is going to be, let's redefine what a win is going to be to you, because now that you understand how to deal with a loss, let's redefine what a win is to make sure those losses actually do turn into more wins. And what I mean by that is, a win for you should never ever be a positive number on the screen, a green P&L, a pass funded account. That's not a win. That's just a part of the process. That's just a byproduct. A win is actually, are you better than you were the day before? Have you learned something today? Is there something in the markets that you're doing now that you didn't do before? Because if you can do that and get 1% better every day, then guess what you've done? You've made progress. And progress is something that no one can take away from you. I can't take it away from you. A prop firm can't take it away from you. That is yours to hold on to and to keep. Because remember here, we're not trading to pass a prop firm. We're not trading to pass a brokerage account. We're literally trading to achieve lifelong freedom. We're trading to develop a skill that no one can take away from us. Because that's what trading is. It's applicable to all things, and it's something that no one can ever take away from you. And once you understand that, you can start to reshift the goalposts. The goalpost is not getting your payout. It's not making X amount a month. The goalpost is freedom. Remember, you have to aim large, because At the end of the day, if you're aiming to pass props, you're gonna go ahead and do it. But then that's the only place you're gonna go. You're gonna get no further. I'm not trading to scale up. I'm not trading to make a certain amount. I'm not trading to pass prop firms. I'm trading to live out my dreams. I'm trading to give my family everything they've ever wanted. I'm trading to give my girl everything she's ever wanted. My children. You're thinking way too small, bro. You're really thinking way too small, because if you think small, you're gonna hit small. If you aim big, even if you miss, you still hit big, right? And listen, I want big things for you, and that's why I'm talking you through these losses right now. You think that's comfortable for me to go ahead and look through all these losses to make this video and talk to you about the biggest pains that I've had in my trading? No, it's not. And losing 10K on that Apex account was a horrible feeling, because I was, again, so close, like I told you. But the second loss is even worse, because this was the real money. And I want to tell you a little story here, because when I moved to Cyprus, I spent a lot of money to move here. Bear in mind, I come from a very normal family. We didn't have much money. We weren't poor, but we didn't have crazy amounts of money. And moving out to Cyprus, buying a car like this, and living a life of freedom at my age was not something that I ever thought would be possible. And the lights have gone off, but I'm gonna keep going because, fuck it. I did not think it was gonna be possible at all. In fact, I thought there was no chance. But when it happened, I realized something, that everything was possible. But something hit me, and the moment I moved out here, something hit me. An obstacle hit me that I never thought I would ever get past. And I lost 35K on my trading account within a matter of weeks. I went through one of the biggest losing streaks that I've ever had. And I thought I was cooked. I genuinely thought I was cooked. One week was 15K, another week was 10, and then a couple of weeks later it hit a few lower. And I thought I was genuinely cooked. What ended up happening was, life moves on. And this loss is the one that taught me the most, because this loss actually taught me that no matter how bad everything is going, and you know everything's gonna be okay because that's what life's taught you. That's what every experience has taught you, but every time you take another loss, you forget that, right? And this loss taught me to actually remember that every single time, because that was some of the biggest money that I could have ever dreamed of, right? To me now, it's nothing crazy. I mean, obviously it's a lot of money, but think about this. 3 or 4 years ago when I was working at a law firm, I made $27,000 a year before taxes. And I would have dreamed to be able to have that much money to throw away. And taking that loss across these periods of time, I realized to relish the process and actually to remember exactly where I am, because right now you are where you dreamed to be at one point. You are where you were dreaming to be 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And you all forget that, but you take it for gratitude, because you take it for granted because you have such high dreams, and I have such high dreams, and I know exactly how you feel right now. Because of where I want to be, I forget of where I am right now, and that is such a bad thing. It's such a poor habit that humans have, but it's ingrained in our nature because we're always looking towards the future. But as a trader, we can't afford to do that, because your size is going to increase as you become a trader. And trust me, believe it, it will. If you don't believe it right now, then jump off this video, because you're not going to make it as a trader, bro. But if you believe that your size, in terms of account size, order size, everything is going to increase, well, what we need to understand then is that the losses are going to increase too. And you need to get used to that. And you need to get very, very good at taking these losses. And that's actually what I've done. And the way that you can do this is just by simply understanding that it's a privilege to be losing the amount of money you're losing. Because one day in the past, you would have dreamt to have this much money to lose. Think about it. Whether it was when you were a kid, whether it was a month ago, 6 months ago, whatever it was, you would have dreamt about being able to risk a certain amount on a trade. And you would have said to yourself, if in 5 years' time I can risk $5,000 on a trade and lose it, but that's okay because it's 1% or 2% risk, I'm going to be so happy. But now that you're in that position and you're losing that trade, all you're thinking is, fuck, why did I do that? Why did I do that? But remember, having gratitude in the process is what brought you to where you are right now. So never forget that. And that loss is something that taught me more than any course or any time spent on the charts ever will, because it was just me and the charts. And at the end of the day, it's just you and the charts. And I guess that brings me on to lesson number 4, which is going to be resilience, okay? You have to be resilient as a trader. There is zero other option. When you are faced with these difficult decisions, and when you're faced with something where maybe life is challenging you, God's giving you your next difficult task, what are you going to do other than accept it and move on? Are you going to bitch about it for a bit? Maybe. But after that, you're going to have to do it anyway. So we may as well skip out the middleman and just say, no matter what trading brings at you, you're going to achieve it anyway. And this goes on to, if you believe it, you're going to achieve it. And what I mean by that is, everything comes down to you. I want you to understand that you have to trust yourself. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to already vision yourself being exactly where you want to be. Because if you can believe yourself being there, you're going to achieve it, I promise. And I actually always knew I would be successful. And a lot of people say that, and I think it's bullshit a lot of the time. But for me, it was always all or nothing. And it was either I was gonna be on a fucking beach in Thailand selling coconuts, making 50 cents a day, or I was gonna make serious money. Now, if the first one played out, I don't know if I actually would have done it, but that's what I had in my head anyway. And again, you have to just think you're better than everyone else. You're gonna go through these tough times. It's gonna happen to you. You're gonna experience serious difficulties. Trading is fucking tough, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is so difficult to the point where you're gonna want to give up. I certainly wanted to give up when I lost $35,000 in a couple of weeks. I did not want to continue trading. I wanted to withdraw everything and just move the fuck on. But obviously, if I did that, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I have no source of income, and I probably have to move back to the UK. So that's not an option. And it's not an option for you either, because there's a reason you started trading. Now, I don't know your reason. Maybe you can tell me in the comments the exact reason why you started trading, but maybe you wanted to help your parents out. Maybe you wanted to escape the life you're living. Maybe you just wanted some flashy items. All of them are equally as valid, apart from maybe the last one, but the point I'm trying to make is, and I guess this is lesson number 5, remember why you started, because that reason that you started is still there right now. Even if you've achieved all your dreams, the reason I started is still there. The reason I started is to avoid a life of mediocrity and to give my family everything I wanted. I hated being normal, being mediocre. I never was. In my head, I was never like everyone else. And that reason is still there right now, because even though I've achieved a lot of the things that were my dreams, those dreams just get bigger and bigger. And actually, if I stopped right now, I would go back to being mediocre. So that dream would be back in place because I'd have to earn it back, right? There's never such a thing as achieving your dreams. You have to actually hold them and keep it going, because if you don't, you go right back to wanting exactly what you wanted before. So the point I'm trying to make is, we're going to use every loss for a specific reason, and I'm going to move on to the technicals now, because circling it back to the point of the video, maybe I went a bit off tangent, but I feel like that was an important thing to say. Every loss is a lesson. And like I said earlier in the video, you get one loss each time. You get one loss where you over risk, one loss where you FOMO, one loss for each mistake in trading. After that, it's not a loss anymore, it's just stupidity. Because your first loss is a lesson. And if you don't change after that lesson, then you're just insane, because as Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So if you take a loss from FOMO and you don't realize immediately that it's a bad thing, and you try and FOMO into another trade again and lose, and you don't change, and you FOMO again and lose, that is the definition of insanity. You have to make changes from your losses. You have to learn and reflect. Anyone can win trades. It's easy to win a trade. But you know what's even more difficult is to take a loss and to move on from it. So this is my process. This is what you guys are going to do when you take a loss. And this is how you're going to move on from it. Because I've shown you some vulnerability now. I've shown you some, I guess, life lessons. But now I'm going to show you how to actually translate that into a direct trading skill. After you take that first loss, I want you to write down exactly why you took the trade and be honest with yourself after the trade. Write down your emotions during the trade as well, but after the trade, write down why you took that loss. Write down the motivations behind it, because this is what most people don't do. Most people, they know they FOMO'd, they know they over-risked, they know they did this, but there's actually a root problem for every single issue that you have in your trading. If you're FOMOing into a position, again, it's most likely going to be a fear of missing the move, or you actually want money so much that you want to take a trade even when it's not valid. If you're over-risking, again, it's going to be money, okay? You want to get to that past account too quickly, or you want to make a certain amount of money, and that is putting time pressure and monetary pressure on your trading, which we know we can't do. So find out the root cause. It's going to be different for you as it is to me, but find out the root cause. That's number 2. Number 3 is you're going to figure out how to fix that. So how are you going to fix something like wanting money quickly? Well, the simple answer for that one is, if you do want the money quickly, the quickest way to get it is purely going to be by taking your time. We know this. There's no shortcuts in trading. 0 shortcuts in trading. If you want money quickly as a trader, the only way to do it, not the best way, the only way to do it, is to go ahead and actually take the slow route and build up consistency and scale with time. Now, I made a video on scaling a couple of videos back. Go and watch that. But the only way to make money in trading is to take the slow route. So understand that if you are FOMOing because of money, or maybe it's ego, but in this specific scenario, if you're FOMOing in or breaking your rules because of a need for money or a time pressure, understand that the quickest way and the most successful way and the only way to make money in trading is to take the slowest way, and that is also going to be the fastest way. So understand that. And then number 4 is we're going to move on. A lot of you guys want to hold your loss so deep inside your heart, and it just stays with you. And it stays with you, and every time you take a trade, you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about what you did before, and you're thinking about the money you need to make back from that loss. Maybe you lost $1,500 and you have to make $1,500 back on this trade, and then maybe a little bit more to have some profit. Forget about it, because once you do that, that's actually when you're going to be able to move on from the loss and actually seriously progress as a trader. And number 5 is going to be just trade as you would. So I don't want you to adjust your trading for any reason. I'm talking about risk and strategy here, not psychology, because I've just told you you're going to have to fix the psychological problems. But after that, you're going to go and trade just as you were before. The same risk, unless you over risk, then fix your risk. But normal risk, normal entries, A+ setups, and be patient. It's so simple. So you've done the psychological part, now you need to do the technical part, which is just go back to trading as you were. And the final thing I want to leave you with is every single trade is an individual event. A lot of you guys think of trading as the 600 trades that you've taken throughout the past 2 years. But that's not trading. Trading is the market right now, the information you have right now. What is that information telling you according to your strategy? Do you have an edge here? i.e., do you have a setup printing that you know is statistically advantageous? If you do, then you take the trade and you manage it exactly how you would. The last trade doesn't matter, the next trade doesn't matter, none of that actually even matters at all. So think about each individual trade as its own event, and that's actually going to remove a lot of pressure. Never be thinking about your balance during a trade, never be thinking how close you are to passing that account. Just purely be thinking about where the market's telling you it wants to go. So where's your TP? Where would the trade be invalid? That's your stop loss. And do you actually have a valid setup? And if you do, that's your trade, and that is trading. Traders don't think about the future and they don't think about the past. They think about right now, what information do they have, and what is that telling them about where price wants to go? And that is it. Plain, simple, and easy. And if you understand these things and understand the emotions that I've taught you in this lesson, or I guess this lesson, let's call it this conversation, then you've got a chance, my bro. I know trading's hard, I know it's difficult. And it's difficult for me still. Trading will always be difficult, and in fact, it never gets more easy. You only get better at doing it, okay? But listen, bro to bro, I love you very much, man. I love you more than you know. You guys show so much support, it's insane. And in fact, I want to give back to you guys. So if you're struggling with trading right now, and if something's resonated with you in this video, first of all, drop a like, but second of all, either drop me a comment on this video describing what your problem is, or shoot me a DM on Instagram and say that you came over from this YouTube video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reply to every comment on this video, And I'm going to try and reply to all of the DMs I get. Now, I get a lot of DMs, so it might be difficult, but I'm going to try and reply to every single one and help you guys out individually with all of the problems that you're facing, because, like I said, I love you very much. And I want to see you succeed, bro. I really do. So hit me up if you have any struggles that you're dealing with, and maybe I can just help you get through them. But listen, the market opens Monday, goes on till Friday. Fuck, man, trading's a beautiful game. It really is, man. And once you learn to understand how it works, understand how yourself works, your inner mind works, it becomes even more beautiful. So learn to love the process, learn to love what you're doing right now, and learn to be grateful for where you are, because honestly, that's what's going to give you the best chance in life. And yeah, guys, look, that's it. What a beautiful evening it is right now. Absolutely insane. I just wanted to come up here and have this conversation. And yeah, man, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Much love. Jesus loves you too. And yeah, bye-bye.